we got through a whole week, and here we are again, and with the good stuff. As always, with you and with us. You know, we always say, man, it's been a rough week. Well, it has been a rough week. It's also been a good week. So
yeah, it's been a good week.
We got so finally through all of this, I got an appointment for me to get a vaccine. So
yay!
Yeah,
I've never been more excited in my life.
I know, me too. I know. So
because that means we get to travel.
We're waiting on Rhonda to get hers, and then we're gonna book a trip. You know, we spent a whole year. We're normally in a whole year, you know, we post pictures. Look, here we are. I mean, travel is just something wonderful for us. It's just been such a blessing to get to be out in the whole world and meet people from completely different cultures, you know, out of our bubble. It's just been great. And then for a whole year, we didn't get to do any of that. And so now it's looking like, yeah, you know, it's going to happen. So big deal.
But we also get to get back in church.
Yes.
Which we've missed.
Oh, gosh. So we've been doing this for more than 6 months. And, you know, I mean, it's been great. And it really got us through a lot of stuff. But I want to be back. I've complained. So go back the year before that. And that was me complaining. I don't want to play in church. I just want to play gospel jam. I don't want to play in church every Sunday, you know, and now just
all know he did.
Let me back in there. Let me back in a real church, and I'll just stand back there.
He probably needed to go through that to realize that, yes, he did want to play.
Apparently I did. I mean, I didn't realize I did, but just let me back in there. I'll just be in the back. I'll be quiet. I
you
promise.
Would just be a fake.
I promise I'll just be back there and play. Just let me be back in person. You know, real stuff.
You'll be quiet back there?
I will. I'll be back there.
You will?
Yeah, I'll just play my stuff and I'll be quiet and I won't make any comments. And just let me back in there.
You just do your job.
Yes, I will.
Okay.
I will do whatever you need me to do, and that's what I will do. And I won't complain like I used to. So, looking forward to that. So, I'm sure everybody out there is like, you know, little by little, you know, these things are happening, and people getting their vaccine, whoever wants it, and the people that don't, you know, whatever. But we'll reach that herd immunity where it's all comfortable and we're able to get back to those things. And I'm so looking forward to that. But I'm looking forward to us being able to get back on our travel schedule. So this past week, it's an interesting thing. I talk about every week how I think about this leads to this, and then I think about this, and then I think about this, and then come Sunday evening, I talk about this. And this has been one of those weeks. So this past week was a couple of things. You know, in the United States, we got a week for everything. And this last week, I think, was Women's Day.
International Women's
Day or week or something. So
something like
important stuff. But also last week was National Tree Week. And so somehow or another, I'm about to tell you how, but I went from Tree Week to me the whole week thinking about forgiveness. Now I'm about to tell you how that connected from this to this. From Tree Week to my whole week of me walking around thinking about forgiveness. So when I was a kid, and I say kid, I was probably about 10 or 11.
That's a kid.
It's a kid, yeah. Not a little kid, but you know, 10 or 11. And I always say, I always blame stuff on my brother. So then my brother passed away a few months ago. And
now you feel bad about blaming
I feel bad about always just putting it off. And Steve said, let's do this. Steve said, so I'm going to be a little more real today. So this is something that came from me. So my brother and I, we had watched some old cowboy movie, black and white, I'm sure. And we had watched this thing where these people, some cowboys had, or whatever they were doing, they want to build a cabin or something, and they had taken this big old saw and sawed down this tree with a 2-man saw, big old pine tree, and it fell down, and they yelled out, "Timber!" Very dramatic. And so we watched this, and I'm like, hey, Steve, how about this? Think about this. Let's walk over to the shop, which was 1.5 miles of dirt road to get back to our shop on our farm. Remember, We lived in the middle of nowhere. Let's go over there. Let's get that big old saw off of the shop wall, pull it off, take it back. And we had a pine tree at our place, and most, you know, it might have been the only pine tree for 100 miles, but we had one. You know, most places around there, if they even had a tree, it was probably a cottonwood tree, but nobody had a pine tree. It was kind of bragging rights, but it was big. And I said, let's go get that that saw and bring it back, and let's saw down that pine tree, and then we can yell timber and watch it fall. Oh yeah, definitely. So we did, and we walked, you know, 1.5 miles, dirt roads all the way over there. We got over there. Nobody saw us. Nobody said, what are you boys doing? We got the saw, pulled it off the wall, dragged that thing back, 1.5 miles back. Nobody saw us. Nobody intervened, as, you know, these adults should have been keeping an eye on stuff and stopped us, but they didn't.
I imagine they were too busy.
Busy doing something. We got all the way back, got that big old saw. Okay, so I put a picture on Facebook a couple of weeks ago. It was a joke. We had somebody cut down a big old tree in the front, piled up some wood. And Rhonda and I have a couple of those saws in our decorations, and I went and pulled one down, and I stood there with it in front of all this firewood, you know, like, look at me. You know, and some people thought I'd actually cut it down. I didn't. It was a joke.
Nobody thought you cut it down.
A couple people did.
No, they didn't.
Yeah, well, they acted like they did. So, but I didn't. It was just a joke. So me and my brother went and got these big old saw and carried that thing back 1.5 miles and got back, and we started in on this big old pine tree, just trying to get that thing going. And it was hard. You know, I remember barely even get it started, and we finally got it working a little bit, and we were tired. We were working through that thing. We got about this far through that pine tree. Of course, then my dad rolled up and saw us. Of course, you can imagine what that was like. Okay, my dad loved this tree. Here's 2 of his kids, you know, out there with a saw, cutting it down. And he jumped out and had a big old fit, and you can imagine where that went. There was some whooping involved. We left the tree, but we had cut far enough.
Not farth. That's not a word. Farth is not a word.
So what's a word? We had cut far enough.
There you go.
Into the tree that we did a lot of damage to the tree. And so that winter, the tree died, you know. I mean, we'd cut enough into there. And in the middle of the winter, some storm or whatever, it fell down. We weren't even there to yell timber. It just died. And so my dad, you know, after he dealt with us, he said, look, Raj, trees are not for cutting down. Trees are for planting and enjoying. You don't cut trees down. And so I kind of carried that for a long time. And so in all my thinking about this, you know, National Tree Week, about, I don't know, a number of years ago, myself and my friend Brian, dear friend, that we had went to gone to somewhere in downtown for a big, you know, fete, or, you know, this big thing, and that him and I had taken and received this award for our work, but the two of us were there for the Tree Hero Award. And he and I had accepted this award in front of all these people because we had planted over 100,000 trees. And I thought, okay, when do you reach forgiveness? I cut this tree down, broke my dad's heart, and then, I don't know, 40 years later, 30 years later, 40 years later, I get an award for planting 100,000 trees. And maybe I had reached that point that I'm sure that if my dad looked back, my dad died a number of years ago, that if he looked back and said, all right, Raj, you know, you're forgiven.
You're good.
Yeah. You cut this tree down, but you planted 100,000 trees and you got the Tree Hero Award. And so, all right, Raj, you're forgiven. And so I've been thinking a lot about forgiveness. So, you know, every morning I talk about it. I'm out walking around. It's dark, sunrise, you know, and I'm thinking about things. And I'm just thinking about forgiveness and what does that mean? You know, and then about the same time, these things that, roll around. Ronald and I talk about this all the time. Our brain works in some conveyor belt. You got something here today and you dealt with it. Okay, well, it's in the conveyor belt and it's going around and wherever it goes. And
my conveyor belt is long.
Yeah, I know, mine is too. And it does all its things, and eventually that same thing is going to roll back around and come back. And a couple of things came around, and it was just these things. And we've been also talking about for a few weeks about it is well with my soul. So that's what we're all after. It is well with my soul. And for a few weeks, I've still been talking about it. It's like, it is well. I'm good. It is well with my soul. All these things are happening that are just so nice. It is well with my soul. And then here comes that thing around.
Until.
Yes. Until something. And this particular week, it was some person or people. And I've been fortunate that in 60 years of my life, there hadn't been a whole lot of
just a few
times, where somebody has just hurt me deeply. That, it's something that just, it's big. And it wasn't a whole lot. But this week, one of them rolled around, and it was these people. And it's, gosh, they hurt me. And here's the thing about where all of the tree thing rolled around. I'm supposed to forgive these people. And then I thought, I forgave them. And then I think, well, I didn't forgive them. If it rolled back around and I'm ready to go whoop somebody, can we bleep that out?
No, I think you bleeped it out good
So, if I'm there, I probably didn't forgive them. But I need to forgive them. I read the Word, and the Word says forgive people. The Word says, Raj, you've been forgiven, so you need to forgive people. And I started thinking about that. Well, of course I did. Well, no, I didn't. Not when it rolls around and I'm just right back to that, hurt, angry, and I think, yes, I have forgiven them. And then in the back of my mind, no, I didn't. I realized, nope, I don't want anything good for these people. I want them to suffer, to just, have a hard life and all these things.
You want them to have as much pain as they inflicted on you.
Or more. Yeah. Yes, if possible, or more. And then I realized, okay, you did not forgive these people. You might have convinced yourself, I've talked about this before too, that I can lie to myself pretty easily.
Yep.
I can convince myself far more easily than I can convince anybody else. I can trick myself, and I thought, well, I've forgiven them, but no, I didn't, because I just don't want anything good for these people that hurt me so deeply. There's all kinds of stuff. People all the time, somebody lie to you or cheat you or steal from you or whatever. And it's like, okay, I can deal with that. But when somebody genuinely does something that just hurts you down to your core, to your soul, that's a little more tougher. And I was thinking about when Jesus had the parable of the prodigal son. He said, I'm going to give you an example. This is a wonderful story about forgiveness. And, I'm going to paraphrase about as I always do, about the parable of the prodigal son. Here's his father, and he's got a couple of kids. And then one of them becomes that punk teenager that we've all dealt with. That one that says, you know what, Pops, I don't want to be like you. Just give me my stuff, and I'm out of here. I don't want to have nothing to do with you. You're just this old dude. Just give me my stuff, and I'm leaving. And the parable says that the father says, all right, here you go. And then that, punk teenager took off. And
he goes out and wastes everything he had.
Every bit of it. He just blows it, as a teenager will, and he just ends up with nothing.
Nothing.
He ends up with working for a pig farm or something, and he's watching
the food of the pigs.
Yeah, he's watching these pigs, and he's just jealous at what they're getting to eat, because he's got nothing. He's starving to death, and and he finally decides, I'm going home. So he tucks his tail and he goes home, and the father sees him coming up the road, and here's this father's like, there he is, and he's so excited. You know, he runs out there and grabs them. Come on, man,
let's have a feast.
We're gonna barbecue. You know, we're gonna do all this stuff. Fire up the barbecue. Man, we're just so excited you're back, and does all this stuff. And the father, you know, forgives them, and then the brother, his older brother, I'm sure that it's like, why are you doing that? You know, he did all this stuff. You know, the older brother doesn't want to forgive him, but the father does, and you know. But the part that got me about this story was the older father tells the father tells the older brother, hey, look, man, just forgive him. He's back. You know, he was dead and now he's alive. You know, he was blind, now he sees, and you know, all these things, but he's back. But look, older brother, everything you see around here, this is yours. But you know, let's forgive him for being back. And the part that it really caught me this time was the father telling the brother, everything is yours. He didn't say, all forgiven, forgotten, we're going to start over. No, the younger brother's still going to have to deal with the fact that he
squandered his stuff.
He forfeited all this stuff, and it's going to the older brother. So I got to think about that, and you know, that's the thing. It's like, we think about forgiveness, and then I don't even know what that means. I mean, I've struggled my whole life. I want to forgive, but you know, we hear so often, well, forgive and forget. Well, that's not what this father said. He said forgive, but he didn't say forget, because if it was forget, he would just say, well, you got half, he's got half. But, you know, he told the brother, it's like, this is yours. He's going to have to deal with this stuff. And you know, forgive and forget, I've done it many times. People come and say, Raj, you know what? I don't know why I said that stuff. Raj, I don't know why I did that stuff. You know, like, okay, whatever. That's water under
the past.
Yep, water under the bridge.
Yep.
But these other things that just get you to the core, I'm not going to forget. You know, I'm going to guard my heart, you know, and be careful, but I still want to forgive. You know, and as I try to think, well, what does that mean? You know, and I convince myself, well, no, these people over here, I forgave them. Well, no, I didn't, because I'm still angry about it. I still want to, as I said, you know, if I could meet me down the road, you know, I'm going to, you know, those things. And so how do I forgive, or what does forgive mean? Probably the biggest mystery to me is to try to really put a handle on what does that mean. And so as I thought it through, and I thought that through the past, you know, I really have forgiven these people, but yet when they go through the conveyor belt and come back, and I realize, no, I didn't. Nope, I didn't forgive them. I only convinced myself that I did. And so what does that mean? And now, to bring this all around, for like a whole month, we've been talking about, it is well with my soul. That is so peaceful, and that's what I want. And then through all of this last time around, for this one group of people, I thought, well, maybe that's forgiveness, that I want them to have that. So rather than being angry and, you know, wanting to meet them down the road and, you know, I'm going to take care of business, I'm going to fix this, maybe I want them to have that. And so this whole week, for this particular thing, I've been praying for them, that, you know, help me to help them if that's possible, or just to help them to be able to have, it is well with my soul. And so this week, I felt finally this lightness of having got rid of that. You know, you can forgive somebody for them, but really you're going to forgive somebody for us. Because to get that out of my mind, I don't want anybody, you know, taking up that much space in my mind and my heart every day to be angry. I don't want that anymore. I want to have my mind for myself and my heart for myself. And so this whole week, this particular thing that I'm talking about, that everybody has, I guarantee you, everybody has that. Somebody, someplace, somehow, sometime, just got you right there. And so when it rolls around, it will just,
it brings you right back to the very moment that they hurt you.
Yes, that rawness right then.
It does.
And then just constantly, you know what? I want them to have it. You know, it is well with my soul. What do I need to do to help them to have it is well with my soul. And so this has been very liberating this week, as every day when I thought about them, I went from anger to something to, you know what, I want them to have it. So what do I need to do? I'll pray for them. I'll think about them, you know, and just in my mind, whatever it is, I just want them to be able to feel that peace, that lightness of it is well with my soul. And I think that's, you know, on my way to understanding and giving forgiveness. It's not easy though, that's the thing. And
it's not. And you know, we hear a lot of people say, well, we'll just let it go and let God, and just forgive. And it's not easy. That is one of the most difficult things that we can do in this life, is to forgive somebody for something that they've done.
I think it is the most difficult.
Yeah.
I mean, it's difficult to do. It's difficult to even understand, what does it mean? You know, we talk about love, okay? Poets for thousands of years have talked about love and tried to explain it. And all of this, you get a sense, but it's still not exactly got it. It's something someone can't tell you. I've talked about this many times. You can say it, you know, in beautiful words, but until you feel it, you don't understand it. And I think that's the same way with forgiveness, maybe even more difficult, but until that sinks in, some sense of forgiveness, you know, I mean, if you step back and think about, well, thank you, God, you forgave us for all this stuff, whatever. And trust me, I've done some horrible stuff. So the amount of forgiveness that I feel that I don't have to worry about anymore, maybe it's pretty big. And so to get that, you know, that's...
I think when you can pray for the people who have hurt you in a good way and for good things for them, that's when you're finally to the point of forgiveness.
Yeah, I think
when you're not praying like David did, ruin my enemies, and
yes,
you know, take care of them,
yes,
and you know, all this stuff. When you're actually praying for that person to have some good in their life, I think that's when you finally got into forgiveness for
yes,
those people. You haven't forgotten the stuff, and you still guard your heart against all the things that happened. But that's when you finally get to the forgiveness for those things that happened and what they did against you.
Yep. I think, yeah, that's it. You're about there. You know, at least on the right track.
And you may have to every day renew that. When that comes back into your mind about, oh, I'm so angry, I can't believe they did that to me. Go back to that prayer of, I really do want good things for them. And maybe then their lives will change, and they won't do that to anybody else.
Yeah, absolutely. That's perfect. So work on that. I'm going to work on it. You think about it, and you know there's somebody out there that is in that category.
All of
when
us
it
have
rolls
something.
Around, just, you know, work on that. Try it. I'm going to spend this whole week with this. I've spent a whole week, but I'm going to try a whole nother week. I'm still going to work on that. But I already feel better. You know, I mean, because I want to know the satisfaction of I have genuinely forgiven, because I want to be forgiven. And from God, from every person around me. I mean, I've hurt people. Of course I have. And I want to really feel that they've forgiven me. And it won't happen until I have forgiven others. So, so give that some thought.
And that 70 times 7, it may be for the exact same instance.
70
times 7 of forgiving for the same thing that you're upset about.
I'm not good at math, but that's a lot of times.
It is. Something like 490 times.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
You say so.
It's a lot of times. You got to keep doing it, though.
Keep on keeping on. We say that. All right, we're going to try a song here in a minute. Me. I'm going to do a song. And so, finally, I was doing this song earlier.
Finally, you get your own solo.
Yeah. So, I was playing this song a little while ago, and it's like, gosh, that sounded pretty good. I mean, it sounded as good as it's anything for me has sounded since I got sick. It is nothing close to that beautiful operatic, you know, voice I had before I got sick. You know, I mean, this is post-sick, but it's still pretty good. So anyway, I'm going to give it a try. And So about right here, hopefully Rhonda's going to post a picture of me getting that tree award. And
oh, you have a picture of that?
I have a picture, so if you
of course you do.
Put it in here. Me and Brian up there accepting the award, and that was a big deal. And so,
okay.
And then as soon as that fades through, we're going to try the song, and it's a song about. It's called the Prodigal Son's Prayer. It's a song about a son asking. You know, he's wanting to be forgiven, and that's all of us. So, listen to the words. Father, meet me with your arms wide open. The world's done and broken, no prodigal son. Down that road I traveled, everything unraveled, only came undone. Father, lead me down to the river, wash me in the water till I'm whiter than snow. I know I'm not worthy, tell me there's mercy for the wandering soul. I lost my way, but now I'm on my knees. It's not too late, won't you tell me please? You got a place for me, a little grace for me. Father, meet me in a cool green valley, in all of your glory when my days are done. Name me one of your chosen, heaven's unbroken, prodigal son. Lost my way, but now I'm on my knees. It's not too late, won't you tell me please? You got a place for me, a little grace for me. Father, meet me with your arms wide open. Lead me down to the river. Meet me in the cool green valley. Name me one of your chosen, heaven's unbroken, prodigal son. Hey, I noticed one thing.
Yes.
Our chairs don't squeak.
Oh, thank you for fixing
Yeah.
that.
I oiled everything. Look.
I appreciate that. Because I move around a lot on this stool. And quit squeaking.
You gonna sing anything?
Nope.
Nope.
No, but I am going to suggest a song.
You are?
Yes. So my suggestion this week is that you go and listen to the song Forgiveness by Matthew West. It's about 10 years old, maybe a little less than that. But it talks about everything that Raj talked about. And the song is just amazing. But it talks about forgiveness and how it's so hard for us to be the forgivers. You know, we always want to be the forgiven, but it's really difficult for us to be the forgivers. And so I encourage you to go listen to that by Matthew West called Forgiveness.
Can you put a link in there?
I'll put a link in the comments.
All right.
Absolutely.
So we want to be forgiven, but we also know that the word tells us you want to be forgiven, you need to forgive.
Yeah.
And so we need to work on that. So I am going to be working on it this week. I hope you will too. Find out what it means. I can't tell you what does forgiveness mean. I can't explain it. How to do it?
Well, let me challenge everybody
Okay.
on how to possibly do it. Because I've been working on it too. It's been really difficult for me. So I'm going to challenge everyone that in your prayers, in your daily prayers, that you think about that person that has harmed you, that has hurt you, and you pray a prayer of blessing for them. It is so hard, but I'm going to tell you, it will help you in your forgiveness. You take that person, you ask God to please bless them. Asking God to bless somebody who has hurt you is the most difficult thing. So I'm going to challenge you to do that. And if you do, I think it's going to change your heart on some stuff. It's going to change your mind and how you feel about things.
I agree. If you can reach that point where you want that for someone that has hurt you, you know, deeply, I think you will feel that lightness I'm talking about when it's, you know, it's for them, but it's really for you. So work on that. And you know what, if there's something out there that, you know, you've reached that point with somebody or something, go ahead and message us. Let us know. I mean, I love to hear that stuff.
Yeah.
You know, and I mean, it makes us feel better, you know, within ourselves to hear that somebody else did it. And
but it's not going to be it's fixed in an instant. It's a daily thing. Yeah. You have to continue to go back to that prayer of blessing for those people that have hurt you. And that's when I think that you have finally forgiven the hurt against you.
Yeah, it will be it's a process, because some of these things, the one that rolled around with me this week was years ago, and still here I am, still kind of dealing with it. But I really think that I really made progress this week, and thinking about what Rhonda just suggested, that, well, you know, for this person, I want this person to be blessed. I want them to feel it is well with my soul.
And it's hard to ask for a blessing for somebody that's hurt you.
Yeah. All right, so work on that. Think about it this week. And, you know, this is one of those things. So this applies to so many people. So you think about this in your own life, and feel free to grab a link off of this and share it with somebody that you know's dealing with it, and help them. And maybe between all of us, you know, we can forgive and be forgiven. You know, every time you forgive, remember you're being forgiven. So yeah. So
we're gonna have to go. I'm gonna cut Raj off because his stomach's growling and I need to go feed him. Apparently.
Oh gosh, I can hear it. I hope you don't hear it. It's embarrassing.
We all heard it, didn't we?
All right. Hey, bye. We'll see you next week.
We'll see you guys next week.